customer states low coolant warning light stays on, despite the coolant reservoir being filled up all the way. This causes him to be constantly paranoid about running low on coolant. I found this to be the case on at least 3 of my customers' Sprinter vans. So today I'm going to show you how this problem got diagnosed and fixed. It's not an electrical issue, it's not a blown fuse somewhere, and it's not even the level sensor itself. Instead, it always seems to be this. The level sensor uses a magnet that's attached to this floating device, and basically the floating device goes up and down depending on the level of coolant. Pretty straightforward. Unfortunately, the magnet inside the reservoir detaches from said floating device. When this happens, the magnet sinks to the bottom of the reservoir, and hence the low coolant warning sign goes on. So this means the sensor always thinks the tank is empty. And it thinks this because the magnet is literally sitting right at the bottom of the tank. So what's the fix? Unfortunately, the only one I've found so far is to replace the entire reservoir. But before you do that, run this one test to confirm that this is in fact what's going on. Step 1, you want to unplug that sensor from the wiring harness. Step 2, you want to twist the sensor and remove it from the reservoir. Now you can't remove the sensor without it being unplugged first, so don't even try. And don't worry, this is a dry sensor. It doesn't even come in contact with the coolant. So you're not going to lose all the coolant in your reservoir when it gets unplugged. Step 3, you want to plug that sensor back into the electrical wiring harness, but don't screw it back into the reservoir. Instead, just tuck it away somewhere. This way, the sensor's connected to your harness electrically, but it's detached from the coolant reservoir and most importantly, just away from that magnet. Now you want to start your engine and confirm that that low coolant warning light is no longer there. Once you've confirmed this, now you can go ahead and replace that reservoir. So all we've done here is get that sensor far enough away from the magnet in the coolant to think that there's a full tank. This way we can confirm the sensor is reading empty correctly and it's reading full correctly based on the magnet's position. So when the magnet's sunk to the bottom, it's reading empty, as it's supposed to. When the magnet's far enough away, it's reading full, again, as it's supposed to. Okay, all that's left to do is replace that tank and put everything back together. Now, of course, you most definitely need this suction pump, the coolant clamps, and 3 different sizes of hose pliers to do this job, right? Of course, you couldn't possibly do this job without all these fancy tools, right?
Of course, you need a 3rd pair of pliers to take this one off. No way you can do this with tools you already own. I'm just joking, but it is easier.
Just kidding. Use whatever the hell you have to get this job done.
Okay. Yeah. See? This thing's got to come off before the sensor can be removed. Now, as you can see, this never touches water. It can only go in one way.
Unfortunately, the reservoir I got here really isn't the best. If you've watched this channel, you know I'm a fan of cheap aftermarket parts when appropriate. I assumed incorrectly that I could use the original cap on this aftermarket reservoir. Now I'm a real stickler for this because that cap is designed to relieve pressure from the coolant system if it gets too high. However, the new reservoir had a different size cap that didn't fit the original.
Almost fits perfectly, I don't know what to say. And we are definitely using our original cap. I do not trust this one bit. Oh, well, I spoke too soon.
And I really just can't confirm the quality here. Now, I'm not going to leave any links to reservoirs for this reason. And honestly, I just can't tell if they have the same size caps as the original. So whichever one you choose to get this job done, make sure you can reuse your original cap. Remember, if that pressure isn't going somewhere, if it's not escaping through the cap, it's probably going to escape through your oil cooler. And nobody wants to do an unnecessary oil cooler job. Those really aren't any fun. Now, if you follow this channel and you're having this issue, don't you dare hire anyone to do this job. Remember, fix your own van.